Hello, and welcome to this guided assignment for Access Chapter 7. I've already got the Access database open on the screen, and I've got my directions open on another screen, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and save this and make sure that you save it where you know you can retrieve it from. So we're beginning with step 2. Step 2 says select the employees table and use the form tool to create a new form. Change the title to View Employees, delete the orders subform. So we select the employees table that we're going to create this from. Then we go to the Create tab and we're creating a form. So this is the form tool. And you'll notice that it automatically creates a form for us. And then it gets the subform. Now the subform comes from, if we go to our database tools and we look at our relationships, because those relationships already exist, it automatically took employees and went to the orders. And so if we go back and look at that again, you can see that it's got that information here. This employee ID is associated with these orders, if you will. And we can navigate this subform by using this navigation tool here, and we can navigate this employees table by using this navigation tool here. We can also search in here. And so one thing it wants us to do is to, if we click in there, it wants us to change the title. So we change that to view. We have to spell it exactly. Take my caps off. Employees. And then it wants us to click here, press the delete key, and that deletes the subform. Save the form. So I'll do a right click here to hit save. It names it employees, so I'm assuming we'll go with the default form for employees. And that does step 2. Step 3 says change the allow edits, allow additions, allow deletion setting to no. View the form and data in form view. Save the form as view employees. So we need to go to, we're in our form. We can look at design. We can look at arrange. We can look at format. What I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the property sheet. And I have the property sheet open. If I look at the data, just the data property sheet, then I see what I'm looking for is here. So allow deletions to set to no, allow additions set to no, and allow edits set to no. And what this does is it just turns your form into something that allows people just to view the data, but they can't make any changes or add additional data or delete data from this table now. So we're looking at this. If I try and hit delete or backspace, nothing should happen, except I was in edit mode and I hit that object there. So I'm going to hit Control Z, bring that back. And so if I'm just in that object, I'll hit, let me go back to form view. Now you can see I'm hitting the backspace key and nothing is happening. Now we need to save this, and we need to save it as view employees. So save the form. I may have to just change this. I may have done save too early, and that may happen to you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this form here. Just do a right click on it, and we want it to be named View Employees. Okay. Step 4 is create a new table in Design View. Name the first field country, make sure it's the primary key. Switch to Datasheet View and add 2 records to it, UK and USA, and we're going to save the table as countries. So again, we're going to go to the Create tab. We're going to create a table, and we need to be in Design View. And when I do that, it asks me to save this. I'm going to save it as countries. In the first field, notice I have the primary key out here. The first field name is going to be countries. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's going to be country rather. And the data type, it's not going to be auto number. It needs to be short text, and I'll explain that later on. And now when we go to Datasheet View, I'm going to save it. The first country that we enter is UK. Hit Tab. And the second one is USA. Hit Tab to move off to make sure the record is saved. And then because this is already saved, I just close it. Notice I have my new table here called countries. Alright, so step 5 is open the Update Employees form in Design View. So we click on this one. We do a right click, open it in Design View. Change the country field to a combo box. So notice these lightly colored boxes here are label boxes. These objects here, these boxes, text boxes, are actually linked to the actual table so that when you change in your navigation bar, it updates the information there. So what they're talking about is this country box, and what we want to do is update that to a combo box. So while that box is selected, we would do a right click and look for change to. This is slightly a little different than what you see in your book, and we're going to go to combo box. Okay, and once we do that, you notice we have a drop down box here. Notice over here on the side, it now has a control source. So we want to link this box to another table that can only use that to populate our entries into this employees table. So you can think of this as a validation table that we're using, and the validation table is going to be this countries table. So we set the row source to countries, not the control source, I'm sorry. And you'll notice that it comes up here as a list of things that we have. So I'm going to click that. And I can spread that over a little for you so you can see exactly the different tables that we have. So I'm going to set that to countries. And then it wants us to limit the list property, yes. So that means the user can't type in something in addition to what's in the country table. Remember, we put in UK and USA in there. So limit, yes. Okay. Fix the tab order. Then we're done with step 5. Fix the tab order so the postal code field comes immediately before the country field. Save and close the form. Okay, so I'm going to move this back. Just click, grab when you have the double arrows. Then we're going to look for our tab order. I just did a right click on that, and it opened up this dialog box. And you're supposed to be able to click here and move that up. Notice I click and move, doesn't work. What you got to do is click this little gray box right here. Then when you have the gray box, you can move that up. and make it right before the country code. Click OK. We will right click this and hit save. And I just want to do a form view for you so that when I'm tabbing here, so I'm on postal code, now it goes to USA country. And then notice it went back to region. Typically this isn't what you want to happen on a screen. So when you are doing any kind of analysis, being a data analyst, you will ask the user, what's the order in which you want to fill out the information on the screen? Do you want to have default information, or do you want to go to some other area first before you go back to another area? And so setting that tab order allows you to do that. Step 7 says open the View Employees form in Design View. So I'll click on that. Let me go ahead and close this. Right click, Design View. Add a new label control in the left side of the form footer that displays the text. What you see on the screen, personal information is considered private, and printout should be shredded after use. Don't put in the period. Change the font color to black text 1 and bold the text. Save and close the form. So we need on the left side of the form footer. So we're going to need to do that. And then we need to look for a text box in our controls. And so this is our text box here. We will then grab that. Notice I haven't clicked on anything. I don't have anything pressed on my mouse. I'm just moving my mouse around. But now I'll click and draw a box. And now within that box, I can type that information that's on the screen. So I will save myself some typing time here. And I will just copy that information that's in my handout, and I will paste it right here. And then it needs to have a certain type of text box. So go to Format. We will then look at our font weight. Grab that and move that over so you can see it a little better. Font weight is going to be bold, so that's how we can bold it here. And then we're looking for the for color, and we're going to click until we see black text 1. And so now we've got a black text 1 and bold text. We are now ready to save and close the form. And that's it for that step. So now we've done our form updates, and now we're ready to create a report. And so this is step 8. Step 8 says using the report wizard. So we're going to do create. We'll go to our report wizard. Go ahead and click OK. And now we get a list of, in our case here, we just have different tables that we could use to create our report. Remember, this is our output of our database. But if you had queries over here, it would also list the queries as well. We want to base our report on the employees table. So that's what we've got selected here. And now we can add the fields as we want them to appear from left to right across the screen. So they want the first name, then the last name, and the hire date. And if we scroll down, they want the home phone fields in that order. It says accept all the other default options. So we could click finish, but I'll just scroll through here and just show you. And we've done this before, and you've seen what that report wizard does. We'll click finish. And so it's created this form for us. That ends step 8. Step 9 wants us to switch to layout view. So I'll do a right click here. I'll go to layout view. It says add grouping by the reports to field. So the grouping is this button right here. And so we now have this group here. We want to add a group, and the group is going to be this group by this field here, reports to. So all the employees that report to somebody. Now it says decrease the home phone field. I'm sorry, I'm reading step 10. Let me go back to step 9. So we've added the grouping by reports to field. Switch to design view after that. So we'll go to design view. Right. Switch the option to with a footer section in the group sort total pane. So that's here. We've got groups on reports to. I'm going to leave that there. Okay, notice that when I click the more here, it opened this up. And so notice it says without a footer section. We're going to click here and we're going to say with a footer section. So notice what happened up here. And so that takes part of that. Switch the option to with a footer section in the group sort total pane. Use the pane to also display the count of the first name field in the group footer section. So notice here we're looking at this. This is no totals. When we click on that, what we want to do is we're going to change that. We want to change that to first name. The default is count values because that's a label. We can't really count labels. And then it says in the group footer section. So if we click here, and that's the reason why we had to enable the footer section previously. Notice that when I did that, it put this information in here. Okay, so that takes care of step 9. In step 10, it says add and insert page break control at the bottom of the reports to footer. So this is the reports to footer, and it wants that page break right after that. So what I'm going to click here is bring that down a little bit so we have a little more room. We're going to find that page break control under the design tab, and it looks like this one right here. We're going to click, and we're going to add it right there. Now it wants us to decrease the size of the home page field label. So here's the home page detail, and here's the home page field label. And we need to drag the right border of the control so it lines up with the 6-inch mark on the horizontal rule. So you click on that. You may need to move things down some. Get the double arrows and align it so it matches up with the 6. Okay. Make sure the label width is set to as close to 1.08 inches as possible. All right, so we've got the home page label, and we want the width here to be backspace that, 1.08. So you can set the exact size and the property sheet of the objects that you're clicking on here. Okay. So that's that width, and we can leave it alone from here. So that takes care of step 10. Step 11 says add a new text box control to the right of the home phone text box. And so we're going to look for a text box here. That's a button, and that's the text box. We'll click, and we'll add it right here. So I put it there. Then notice it's got, this is what the text box is going to be bound to something. Currently it says it's unbound, so it's not linked to a table or anything. And the label that would be displayed on the screen is listed here. And so what it wants then, it says use the tabular button in the table group of the Arrange tab to place it correctly. So if we go to the Arrange tab now, and then we see tabular, when I press that, notice what happens. It automatically moves it down to this area where this is the boxes that are linked to the employee table. Now I'm going to adjust that so it's up just a little bit. We'll try. We'll see if it gives me any problems when it gets graded. Change the label for the field to years employed. So we click in this one. And we're going to change that to years. Employed. That takes care of step 11. The next step is step 12. It says it wants to add a formula in the text box to calculate the number of years, not days, since the employee's hire date. Assuming the current date is this amount, 12/31/2017. Format the field as standard with 1 decimal place. Save and close the report. So I click inside the box. I'm going to enter the date exactly the way I see it on the screen. So it's 12/31/2017, assuming that's the current hire date. That means it would be the most or the largest number of days since the turn of the century, 1900s. We're going to subtract from that the hire date, and if you looked at your data again, you would know that the value, backspace, would be the hire date field. That's what we're using here. So just to be sure, I'm going to look in the employees table again. See where that, it's called hire date, hire space date. That's the label output. We just go to design view real quick for employees. And it's hire space, no space. Okay, so that tells me how that has to be written. So hire date. Need to put all of that in parentheses because we want years there. So we'll need to then divide that by 365. All right. So notice I've got this object selected. If I go to data, if I go to format, I can actually then do the rest of this, which is format the field as standard and then with 1 decimal place. So decimal places, we're going to select 1 here, and we're now looking at where standard would be. So I need to click in the format area and see, I believe standard is there. Scroll down. There it is. So that's what they're wanting. And now we can save and close the report. I like to view the report. It's saying that I've got something extra there. I don't need a bracket right here, so I will fix that. I've got my parentheses, ending bracket, divided by 365. And it looks like I'm leaving out my pound sign, so I think that's what the problem is. You may run into the same. So there we go. Looks right now. Save it. Go to report view. Okay, it's telling me I have an extra parentheses. So let me look at that again. So you may run into similar problems. Just keep working on your formula. So also notice I've got this little arrow here, and it's going to try and help me here. So invalid control source. So we're doing an expression, so it looks like I've left out the equal sign. So let's try that. And so when I run it, we can now see what it's supposed to be. So years employed, I've got the actual standard 1 decimal place. It's telling me who the employee is, who they report to, and how many the count here reports to each of these people. So hopefully if I submit this, I should get 100. So I'm going to save this and submit it, and that ends this tutorial.